weren't just going to start cutting down the trees. The first thing they did was start building a road up here. It took them 5 years. So it was 5 years they built this road, didn't cut one tree. Well, a man down in Visalia, a man in charge of the newspaper and a man in charge of the patent office, was sitting in his office when all of these notices for these homesteads came across his desk. It was his job to proofread them. Well, he took a look at them and realized someone was acquiring all the land in the giant forest. He'd been up here. He was one of the first people up here, and he absolutely loved it. He looked into it, realized they were starting to log, and realized, I have to do something right now. And he did. He had this newspaper, he had a big audience. He knew how to talk to people so they'd listen, understand, and care. He took two routes. One, he appealed to the conservationists. He said, this forest and these trees are spectacular. There's nothing else on earth like them, and we must protect them. The conservationists said, yes, absolutely. He appealed to the farmers. He said, if we cut down the giant forest, it will ruin the water out here. The water that drains all of that snow off those mountains through this forest and into the valley where all of the agriculture is happening. The trees are gone. The soil will rush into the water and ruin it. The farmers were on board. Check, check. This man had a plan. His name was George Stewart. Yellowstone had been designated the country's first national park a few years earlier, in 1872. And he thought this area could be a national park too. If this area were a national park, it would be protected against logging forever. He got the ears of a few congressmen, a few other important people in government, and just before the very first tree was to be cut here, the legislation passed, it was signed into law that this was the country's second national park. All of those homesteads were voided. Not one tree was ever cut. The colony moved out of the area, and in fairness, if you read some of those historical accounts, a lot of those people who were up here trying to make a living said, yeah, it was probably better as a national park.